हाँ सर बोला। हाँ हाँ बोलो। हाँ मी करतो ना, आला ना मी स्ट्रीम.
Good morning, everyone. Well, I think we can give it another minute as a courtesy wait, thinking others to join, maybe, and then we can start. Okay. Well, I think it's about time, so we can start the session. Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks uh, for joining and taking this time to join us today for this exciting session, which is a curtain raiser session for the profit leadership. My colleague, Mr. Sarfaraz, will take you through a small presentation about the introduction, and then we will hand over it to Mr. N.C. Narayanan, our founder chairman, who will talk in details about the profit leadership and how it is helpful. So, thank you so very much. Over to you, Sarfaraz.
Yeah, thank you, Sai. So while we wait for others to join, I would like to just request for your attention for a small introduction about the company while we have people joining us for the session. So before I begin, I would like to start with a small video about the company that should give you a good summary about who we are and what we have been doing so since these many years. So just hold on. Yes, so just a quick introduction. I hope the video could give some insights. So, who we were founded in 1999 by Mr. NC, and I mean, what we do. Uh, we are an international management consulting company partnering for achieving profit leadership by arresting profit leakages and optimizing value stream for competitive advantage. So here the focus uh, of our company is to help our clients achieve profit leadership. This is the term copyrighted by us, and we have written several articles, and a book is also in the progress of publishing. So, and the program that we're going to discuss is all about profit leadership. Meet our speaker, Mr. NC Narayanan. Of course, he doesn't need any introduction, but in those who of us who are joining us for the first time, Mr. NC, we fondly call him the NC, so you can refer him with that initial. Uh, he has been a CEO coach for companies around the world. Many of them refer him as a transformation catalyst, and he came up with the term profit leadership, and has made a lot of videos on YouTube, and we have many such case studies of implementation profit leadership for many of our clients, which we're going to discuss in the masterclass. He's also published several books, so that's about it. This is a team. So they are based around the world. We have team in Oman, UAE, Thailand, Sri Lanka. So this is summary of our team. Infographics, we're a 20 plus year old company working with clients across 24 plus countries, touched 1,000 plus clients around the world and helped them to save 500 plus $1 million savings. So these are just a summary of our offerings. Most of them you would have already seen in the video. So strategy, planning and execution, IT and ARP enabled, supply chain optimization, Industry 4.0 assessment and robotic process automation, lean manufacturing, and data analytics and performance management. This is just a summary that we do under the banner of profit leadership. These is these are our three publications, which is heavily in demand. Global footprint. So if you see, we work with clients across the industry, across the globe. This is our training accreditation. We are the only one in India who is accredited by ISET as a US-based accreditation body for training and coaching services. This is an accreditation for our affiliation with DDI, Demand-Driven MRP, which is a new age solution for inventory optimization. This is a summary of our design and IT excellence solutions. So that's a brief about the company. Hope you would get an idea about who we are, and I'm sure most of you would have already joined. So now I would request Mr. Renzi to take it from here, and once he's done with this presentation, we will open the forum for Q&A. Open to you, sir.
Thank you, Sarfraz. Can you please confirm whether my
Yes, we are able to see your screen.
presentation is visible? Yeah?
Yes, yes, it is visible.
Okay. I'll switch off my video so that I can keep your attention. I hope my video is not on. Yes.
No, it's not.
Okay. Good morning to everyone who was chosen to spare their valuable time today with us for this masterclass. I really appreciate many of you are holding a leadership position and sparing this time to listen to this short presentation is something we need to express our sincere gratitude to you. So this particular session, of course, said master class for curtain raiser. We said essentially we wanted to. One second, which slide is? We just call, sorry for the small interruption, because of course the technical issues are built in the whole context of such webinars. Essentially, I just want to give you a heads up on what the session is going to be, and as well as the subsequent session that we would like to present to you. Essentially, the concept of profit leadership, I will just walk you through a little more in detail. So we found in the last 2 years, we had a series of webinars because of the lockdown and work at home, etc. So with the result, I think there's a bit of fatigue, I must say, yeah, webinar fatigue, if I may like to call this. Essentially, that people have people sat through several webinars. We thought that we should bring in something more value adding, essentially giving some direction to the organization to recover from the onslaught of last 2 years of economic crisis. So I will take you through a little more in detail what this whole concept of profit leadership is all about. Of course, many people ask this question that what is this new terminology called profit leadership, and why such a new paradigm is into existence? Because every business is intended to make profit, and any business leader is supposed to be a custodian of profit for those enterprises. So many people have asked me, why are we introducing a new terminology called profit leadership, which is quite obvious. So I thought I will give you some more perspective where this term is coming from. So we just took the copyright of this term profit leadership recently because we want to promote this idea in a big way. This is one of the recent publication of the trend in the return on investment over a period of time. If you look at from 1965, it's a typical American company's return on investment, how this has been depleting over a period of time. So from 1965, which is around 4.1%, is almost becoming less than 1% right now. So if the every industry has been managed very well for profitability, which is the main aim of return on investment, and why it is having a downward trend over a period of time, is a very important question to answer. So if the quite advanced technological, affluent country like America, where the return on investment on an average is depleting over a period of time, let's look at little more in detail why this concept of profit leadership. The first question that whenever I had the opportunity to meet some of the business leaders, I asked the question, are we making sustainable profit? You may like to probably call this as a mantra of business. Because every business exists for the very obvious reason it has to make enough profit. So if the answer is yes, then why are you not scaling up the business? 98% of the industries in India, as well as probably even in China, they are all coming under the small and medium micro industries, which have been started with an enormous amount of enthusiasm by entrepreneurs. But they never became anything worthwhile to become a large scale company. So that means there is something is probably lacking in the leadership, which essentially needs to be addressed. But there are companies, when I asked, are we making enough profit? They say, no, we are not having a sustainable profit. Even if you look at the Fortune 100 companies, there are only 11 companies stayed as a Fortune 100 over a period of decade. Many of them, they become a very profitable company and they disappear. So when you say we are not making enough profit, are we managing the business for profit is the most important question, which relates to the concept of profit leadership. So I would like to walk you through this philosophy, which we would like to probably promote as the concept of profit leadership. Out of the last quarter century that we have been in consulting business, particularly focusing on the profitability, there's something called entitlement profit for every company. That means if it's a manufacturing business, it should have minimum 10% margin, and if it is going to be a service industry, it should have a margin of 15 to 20%. If it's a software company, it should have a margin of about 50%, and so on and so forth. So the entitlement profit, if you compare with the actual profit wherever we have carried out the detailed diagnostic study, we found that the actual profit is far less than the entitlement profit, which is about 20 to 30%, as it has been conceptualized at the time the business has come into existence. Now, where is this 20 to 30% is disappearing? Is the most important question we would like to figure out, which led to this idea of profit leadership in a more systematic study. Quite interestingly, those who are willing to take risk, they generally become entrepreneurs. The rest of them put their money in the fixed deposit, or at the most, if they want to take more risk, they go to the capital market. But when we are starting a business, obviously we are willing to take risk. That means either it will make profit or it will make loss. So that is why Kaplan, when he brought this concept of balanced scorecard, he said the profit is a lag indicator. So I would like to cover this a little bit on the concept of profit leadership as we go along. When you say lag indicator, what does it really mean is that means at the end of the year we will have a calculation of what cash came in and cash went out, and then we finally calculate how much money the company has made. So in a traditional leadership, which is essentially mostly firefighting, profit is the year-end result that will be reported by the CFO. That means it is more of an arithmetic where we try to calculate the income and expenditure and finally report what is the profitability of the company. So that is why it is called a lag indicator. That means it is something which will be known only after all the events have been accomplished. But in the case of profit leadership, we are coming to a different paradigm that influence the future performance. Now, what do you mean by influencing the future performance is we are converting a profit as a lead indicator to lag indicator to lead indicator. So that means profit is the result of many intelligent actions. So when we say profit leadership approach, what essentially it really means is that we are trying to clearly define what is the percentage of profitability we need to earn, and whether we are earning those profits instead of purely depending on the books of accounts. So this is what essentially is the concept of profit leadership. But you may be wondering, this is what's supposed to be the business of all business leaders. It's very interesting to see when I wrote my book, Pragmatic Leadership, which is available in Amazon. I happened to do the research of many organizations where I found the traditional leadership paradigm, the business leaders are administrators. There's some business has been established and then they maintain the status quo. So this is what we found in several organizations. The other traditional leadership paradigm is the business leaders are supposed to manage people and assets. That means there's a constant struggle they will go through in terms of retaining the people and then ensuring that all the invested assets are productive, and whether we have achieved our numbers for every year, every month, and then keep on pushing things. So this is the traditional concept of leadership all along. And particularly India, during the course of its protected economy, most of the organizations had a good time because there was no competition, there was no threat. So obviously, maintaining the current level is more than adequate. Having said that, who is a business leader? If you probably look at in the concept of profit leadership, he is the person who is trying to create shareholders' wealth. So, having studied so many organizations, whether the organization is creating wealth or it is really deteriorating wealth is an important question that needs to be answered. During the course of the last 2 years of the extreme pandemic and various challenges, there are many organizations which had a very credible kind of a performance have disappeared overnight. That means it shows that these organizations have really borrowed money from the banks and then they put up a different kind of a facade, but they could not withstand the onslaught of such a extreme situations we have all gone through. So we asked the question in the concept of profit limit, how do we create a sustainable wealth? Now, what do you mean by a sustainable wealth is at the end of the day, it is not the credit ratings are good, but the people feel, all the stakeholders feel that this is the best place to engage in. To give an example, in India, many of the cars which are manufactured from the Western world, like General Motors or Ford, they could not compete with the Japanese and Korean competition, and they all have to wind up from there and disappear. Even once upon a time, the Japanese cars, which were very, very popular in India, they are finding it very difficult to compete with the Korean latest cars. So what is happening worldwide is this huge shakeout is happening in terms of creating a sustainable wealth. So just to give an illustrative idea, the leader for maintaining a sustainable wealth, what to do is very clearly it is not known or it is known. And coming to the other axis, if you really look at it, the urgency, they are not very well feeling that is something urgent for them to take this as a more of a culture building in the organization, or they are aware. If you look at the two extreme axes, having studied many organizations which are having a very good opportunity, but they were making recurring losses for many years. Let's look at it. What was the reason? Either they didn't know for creating a sustainable wealth, they belong to this category that they don't know what needs to be done. Neither they are clear about the urgency of doing something about it. So they are all belong to the headless chicken cut off, jumping here and there, doing something, but essentially they are waiting for the fate to decide whether they will be able to survive or not. Or there are leadership which they know exactly what needs to be done and what's going wrong in their organization for sustainable wealth creation, but they are not aware that it's something very urgent needs to be done. They are not able to convince their board of directors, so they belong to the snail pace in their own progress, and everything goes well, they survive, otherwise, they are not able to remain in the business. But there are leadership which are very clearly aware the urgency that something needs to be done. It's not maintaining status quo will do, but they don't know what to do. They belong to this quadrant, and they tend to do a lot of improvement. They hire consultants and then they carry out many improvement initiatives, but their PL account remains the same. But there are very few organizations, they know what is need to be done, and they also know the urgency, and then they take charge of the doing the right things in the organization in terms of profit. In other words, it's very important that profit leadership is a philosophy or a paradigm or a concept by which leadership is not merely sustaining the current status and then make the organization move forward. So, profit leadership is the concept that we are trying to bring about in terms of this aspect. And many a times when we probably probed into the tactical level as well as senior leadership, most of them are all belong to the transactional leadership. By that, what I mean is, when I say transactional leadership, is essentially people are engaged in the day-to-day activities, firefighting, they run behind the numbers, but the organizational cross-functional problems remain the same. But there are transformation leadership. I had the privilege of working under great transformation leaders during my formative years in the previous group. So I know what really transformation means. It's having a clear foresight that what is the likelihood of the industries in the future, and taking initiatives and actions which will probably challenge the organizational structure systems and create a different kind of a culture to negotiate the future. So moving from a transactional leadership to transformation leadership is what actually I would like to share with all of you in terms of profit leadership. So hence, currently me and Naveen are authoring this book, Profit Leadership, which is almost in the stage of being published, where we would like to bring about clarity about what do you mean by profit leadership. It is quite simple to appreciate that creating value for the stakeholders by creating an optimum value stream, at the same time engaging everyone in the organization, so that there is a perfect alignment of everyone who are in the organization directing towards the wealth creation of the company. So most of the organizations, the profit is the responsibility of the CEO and CFO, and everybody else across the value stream, right at the operating level as well as at the tactical level, they engage in committing cost, but they have no idea the cost that they are committing is ultimately going to lead to the intended profit of the company or not. So the management systems, the human resource management systems, and all of them, as well as the job descriptions, are not directing towards the wealth creation responsibility across the people. That is the folly of the many organizations which have grown in size, but at any point in time they may probably in trouble. So profit leadership introduces another term called profit leakage. Now, what do you mean by profit leakage is something which is clearly, if you look at this diagram where the Michael Porter represented that margin, profit margin is a dependence of the entire value stream where the bidding the contract and design and estimation, sourcing and purchasing, execution, surveying and billing, or whatever you call it. This model may vary from organization to organization. Maybe a manufacturing company may have a slightly different value stream. And then there are support functions which are listed here: human resource development, technology, procurement, and so on. So the most important aspect is everywhere there is a profit leakage is happening, and this is not part of the management accounting system. So many a times these are unaccounted, like maybe an estimation error during the time of estimation, maybe bidding contract without adequately covering the profit margin and cost. Sourcing and supply chain incurs enormous amount of cost during the course of procurement and so on and so forth. So that means that there are lots of profit leakages happen across the value stream. Unconsciously, people are not intentionally losing money, but they are unconscious about the profit leakages. Having said that, the term cost optimization and cost cutting, most of the organizations are taking the steps when their profits are under threat. They go for cost cutting. Essentially, they try to go for value engineering and reduce the material content, or they prematurely reduce the number of people, etc. So there is no systematic cost optimization is happening. Many a time lean is misunderstood that it is supposed to reduce people and reduce material. It is not. Lean is supposed to find the optimum resources that needs to be employed across the various stages in the organization. Recently, we carried out for one of the largest pharma company, one of the leaders, and then we found the value of inventory held by them is running into several thousand crores. And at some point in time, the working capital keep on bulging, and the CEO is answerable to the board, and it's a nightmare for them to go and answer why the working capital is keep on increasing. So nothing has been done in these areas in traditional industries, but today there are a lot of cutting edge technologies have come in, which are going to revolutionize these areas. So as a leadership, whether they are conscious of these optimizations on a regular basis and try to take their organizations in a profit leadership platform. So during the course of our study and diagnostic across many industries, we found that there are profitability has got five drivers. So this may apply for any manufacturing company, this can apply for any service businesses, it can apply for banking and finance, it can apply to any business model, but generically, these are all some of the profit drivers. One of the driver is the ability of the organization to introduce new products. That means constantly replenishing their old products because there is a heavy pressure on many of these technologies becoming obsolete. Disruptive innovations are very rampant in the last 20 years. So the organization's ability to put this R&D in the strong footing is very critical and important. So many a times R&D expenditures are considered to be is something which is avoidable. So this is one important profit driver. The second is the optimum working capital, as I mentioned, that how the cash flow is managed based on the organization ability to reduce its inventory, at the same time improve their delivery performance. Many a times business leaders' opinion is higher the inventory, higher the ability to service the market. But these are all very old paradigms where industries are moving towards zero inventory at the same time keeping up delivery performance. So this is a very important profit driver which needs to be looked into. The velocity of information flow. Now there is a very easy and simple way the return on investment is defined by great thinkers, that it depends on the flow velocity. The organization ability to improve their velocity of information flow right from the request for proposal to the raw material arriving at the incoming stores. How we are reducing the lead time is always a black box for many of the organizations. So that becomes a very important driver for profitability. The other one, the velocity of material flow. That is where the how rapidly the manufacturing facility will convert the raw material into finished goods in the most flexible manner. So there are many case examples which we would like to share with you during the course of the workshop that we are planning to have. That is on the velocity of material flow. The fifth driver is if the organization has got a network for distribution of their products. If it's a consumer products kind of a company, even if it is going to be a capital machinery manufacturing company, it's very important to see that how rapidly the finished goods can reach the customer. So this is something is very critical and important for automobile industries and then auto ancillaries and white goods kind of a manufacturing companies, as well as the trading businesses, how we are able to reduce the lead time for finished goods reaching the customer. So these are some of the profitability drivers. And in the profit leadership workshop and consulting, which SSA wants to extend to many industries, which are under tremendous pressure for improving their return on investment. So, before I conclude the presentation, couple of more details I just wanted to share with you in the curtain raiser, that many organizations are taking up a lot of improvement initiatives. Islands of improvements are being carried out, but unfortunately, they are not having a right meeting point at the middle, because many of these improvement initiatives are all bottom up in nature. They are not in the strategy space. Although operational improvements can give a marginal relief, but they are not going to take the organization to the next orbit. So, profit leadership philosophy and the actions are more at the boardroom level, as well as the decision making strategic leaders, with the result that we create something which is more holistic and bringing in a large scale transformation in the organization. So, just to summarize this whole aspect, there are many organizations, performance is extremely good. They make enormous profits and they feel they are very healthy. Unfortunately, I always used to say that profit is not an indicator of the health of the organization, because if our immune system is very good, probably external virus may not be able to attack us. So, performance of the organization is not the real indicator of the health of the organization. There are many organizations, as you could see in the x-axis, they do a lot of business excellence practices at any point in time. 10 consultants are working on various areas, but they are very good at it. And if you see in the four quadrants, there are organizations which is performance is low and they have no any improvement practices happening. They become punchbacks, meaning that any point in time there is a major challenge from the market, they will disappear. As it has happened in the last 2 years, there are many organizations could not withstand. But there are organizations good in performance, and but they are not having any kind of lasting initiatives to sustain their wealth creation capabilities, and they won't go for a long distance, although they may look very healthy right now. And there are many organizations have got all business excellence practices. They have got EFQM awards and all kind of recognitions, but their performance is pretty low. But still, there is a chance that they may survive. But what is important is to bring a world-class organization. It is very important to have continuous learning and development happening in the organization, mostly unlearning, and also keep an eye on the profit leadership is what actually the concept that we are trying to promote. So, having said that, finally, before I close the presentation, we thought that instead of having a webinar, which are generally knowledge nuggets, which give an instant shot of adrenaline, but they are not leading to any kind of improvements in the organization. So we just wanted to get into more doable kind of actions in order to improve our profitability. So we brought this systematic approach for bringing profit leadership philosophy within the organization. So this approach comprises of diagnose. Diagnostic is essentially to figure out how the organization is currently performing in terms of its key performance indicators, and get an idea what is the benchmark we are comparing with. So recently we did for one of the automobile company in India. We found they are holding 30% more inventory than their competitors who are 10 times bigger than them. So when you do a diagnostic and then look at the competitors' benchmark, we realize that where the profit leakages are happening. And then we wanted to take through the value stream study to find out every activity that we are performing across the value stream, both in the information flow and material flow, what is the profit leakage is happening. So that is the next step, and then finally estimate what is the profit leakage in terms of money language is happening, and then go ahead with the improvement in the profit. So what we thought is we wanted to bring this approach available to the industries, and hence we thought that we will have a workshop instead of a webinar. Subsequently, on the dates will be announced by our business development team. So it's going to be a half a day workshop in which you will get a hands-on feel of this approach rather than merely an intellectual appreciation. That was the idea of the workshop, and this is a curtain raiser for that. Just more like a teaser, we wanted to give you this idea so that you can bring in your leadership team and attend that half a day workshop, which will give you much more detail so that you can factor this in your strategy for the coming financial year. And then, if you feel that SSA can be a consulting for handholding and then ensuring these results are demonstrated, we can engage with you. And in the half a day workshop, we are inviting some of the business leaders who have applied this methodology and got a significant profitability improvement within a very short time. And we wanted to bring them on board and share their experience with you and answer some of your questions. So that is the plan. So if you are all quite convinced that you need to take this uh, knowledge nugget to the next level, you are most welcome to register for the workshop, which dates are yet to be decided. It will be definitely in the coming months. So that's all from my side, and I'll stop here and take any questions if any of you would like to ask. Sunny?
Thank you so very much for this insightful session, NC. So we request the participants to, the forum is open. You may drop your questions in the chat box, or you may just unmute yourself and ask the questions. So please. Well, I received one question, NC, as I think
Yes,
there is
Sunny.
some message here. Okay, so it was Mr. Sridhar mentioning that it was a very good informative session and it was an eye opener. So I received a question and saying that if this particular, if our approach will be suitable for both the industries, that is for manufacturing and service. I just received this message.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. So I partially indicated that this generic methodology is equally applicable. Am I audible, Sunny?
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely.
It is equally applicable irrespective of what is your business model, whether it's manufacturing, service, or trading, because the generic steps are meant for discovering what is happening in that business and how the profits are leaking, particularly the value stream mapping and discovering the profit leakages and quantifying them. Will that those steps will vary, Like for example, we did this similar exercise for a tourism development company.
Yes.
We have done this for a transformer manufacturing company. We have done this for a edible oil manufacturing company in Oman. So it is very generic in nature, but only thing, this curtain raiser subsequent workshop we are planning, that will only generically explain the steps. And once that makes it clear, then if required, it can be a on-site workshop and hand holding, which can be planned for your organization. Sunny, I hope it answers the question.
It is very much answered. I think Mr. Sridhar would be interested to join in, so I will pass on these next invites to all the participants who have joined registered today. So if no other questions, I request all the participants to take this feedback form and share your valuable feedback. So I'm dropping the link for feedback form in the chat box. Uh, so you may just access the feedback form through the link and share your feedback. And if any
Sunny,
queries or questions, yes,
Sunny, can you announce them when tentatively the half day workshop is planned so that
yes.
you can be a,
Absolutely.
you
So
can plan your session?
tentatively, it is planned for first week of June. So we will very soon share the dates and the agenda for the session and the flow of event, so that people would know exactly how the event will flow and who are the speakers, because there will be a few external speakers who will be sharing their own profit leadership journey. So tentatively, it will be early June. So we'll very soon share the invites and the much details about the event shortly.
And I am right now in Muscat for a few more weeks till 15th of June, 15th of May, right, Sunny?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I'm also traveling to Dubai. So if anybody wanted to meet and discuss any of this subject relevant to their organization, you can kindly let Sunny know about it. I know that Eid is once the Eid is over, definitely I think I can spend some time meeting you personally. I'll wish you Eid Mubarak for everyone from this part of the world.
I just also wanted to add the recording of this session is available now on YouTube and all the social media channels promoted by SSA. So you can go through it in case you missed out anything, and you can also share with your friends, colleagues who you think would be uh, interested in this program. And in the feedback also, you can mention your expectation from the masterclass because we want to hear from you, and and we can make it more inclusive. So you can share in the feedback your expectation about the masterclass.
If anyone wants to give a feedback about the session, it's open for another few minutes and before we can adjourn. If you are silent for another 5 seconds, I think we'll conclude and adjourn the session. Sunny?
Yes, sir. Yes. So we are going to be sharing the recording and the feedback forms again on your email IDs. So please do share your feedback, as which will help us to prepare more for the next session. So thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for taking this valuable time of yours and joining us today.
Thanks a lot for your time and look forward to see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone. Good day.